Good afternoon and welcome everyone. This is Captain Stitches and I'm Jean. Hi, it is Wednesday and Wednesday is when I sometimes do Tip Demo Wednesday and Whip is with me as usual. Yes, popping up here. We'll try and ignore him. Gonna have to say hello or not going to go away. So say hello, Whip. And we're not doing a demonstration of you today, so you're going to have to get down, lay in your bed, be a good boy, and let me show everyone what we've got in store for them today. He needs some hugs before he gets down. So, okay, get down, Rick. Lay down. Be a good boy. Lay down. Okay, so as I was saying, it's Wednesday, and often when I can on Wednesdays, I like to do a tip demo Wednesday. And I've been having so much fun lately with the project that I'm working on that and kind of changing it up a little as I go. So I thought I would go ahead today and do a little demonstration for you on slow stitching meets hexagon. So I am going to turn on the overhead camera, and for the rest of this video, I will be using that. So let me switch to that and we'll get right into what I have to share with you today. Okay, there we are. And I just have some of the stuff set up here on my work surface for you to share with you. First of all, this all started with a block of the month. Let me move that off there so you can see that better. Called, actually, the block of the month is called Fields of Fancy, and it uses this Field of Blooms template. So that is how it all starts. I know that this template is still available through some quilt shops. I don't know which. If you Google it, you should find several um, places on Etsy that you would be able to get it. I have found it from time to time also on Amazon. So you can check both of those, but it's called Field of Blooms. And I will put some information on that also in the show notes below. So you will have that information afterwards. But what it consists of is this hexagon template. Yes, it's a little hard to see because it's clear, but it has the outer section, which I believe this measures approximately 4.5 inches. So yes, it is a large hexagon. And then, of course, it has the middle portion, and that measures right around 3.5. So that is what I have been using for these hexies. I'm going to move that over there for now, out of the way. But over here, we just have some that I have completed. Some of them are for the actual Fields of Fancy block of the month. So this is one that has embroidery on it, and I added the crayon color tinting technique on that as well. I think you've seen this in a previous video I did on catching up the other day. But that is one example of that, and you can see that the intersection is the smaller of the hexagons, and then this outer portion is done with the larger hexagon. It's all one piece, and then has the binding folded over. This is one that's just fussy cut out of a fabric called Acufactum. And then we have one that is EPP blossoms that are then appliqued down onto the hexie. And of course, I do some quilting or whatever on each one of them different to add to it as well. This one was the first one that I came up with the idea to do a little miniature slow stitching on them as well for something different. So that has some of the elements of slow stitching on it, embroidery, the doily, button, some lace trims. Those tree there has all French knots on theirs, and there's a chain stitch along this edge. I don't think you can. There we go. Let it get in and you may be able to see that a little. But that's what brought me to the idea of doing more of them. And then this is another embroidered one. Again, the crayon color tinting technique done first and then the embroidery added. Here is another one of the blossom petals that are done with EPP and then applique down on that one. If we get up close, there we go. I did the shadow quilting on that one. And then this is another one that's just fussy cut out of the AccuFactum. If we get close up, you can see that I did repeating hexagon shapes on that for the quilting. And then this one is an applique one. So those are just some ideas of what you can do with these awesome, addictive hexagons. We're going to set that out of the way also. We'll leave this one over here just in case I need it. But this is one that's still in the process, and I will show you in a bit after we work on this how we finish with the background and folding it over around our inside hexagon. I won't get to that point on this one, so I just have this one there to use as reference later to show you that. But as you can see, the first thing that I've done, we'll go ahead and move these. We'll skip to this step before moving it. First of all, of course, I picked my focus fabric for my slow stitching. And then I had to trim that with that template for the smaller of the hexagons. There's also very thin batting that is in the hexagon shape, also underneath there. And then we have the larger one, which that's the right side. It's wrong side up right now, laying there. Those you need for your fabrics and making your hexagon. So then I looked at the colors and everything that are on my focus fabric and thinking about what I might want to embroider on that. And so we have some pinks there that I have chosen, some of the Valdani that will match with that. Of course, we have 3 different greens here to go with the greens that are in here. We have a brown to go with the brown that's in the flower and the outline of the flower. And then we have this kind of peachy color down here. So we have one to go with that as well. I'm going to set those to the side out of the way for now. And this is the fabric that I started with, the fat border that I had that I thought was pretty. So I just fussy cut a section out of that to use for my slow stitching. So you can use any fabric that you have. You will need for the inside one, you will need at least a 7-inch square of fabric to be able to get your hexagon cut out of that. Your outer one, you will need about a 9-inch square of fabric. Sorry, my table moves as I put my arms on it, and that makes the camera move. Sorry about that. I'll try not to do that so much. But so that you will need, and then of course, you need to go through your slow stitching supplies and choose a few things that you think you might want to use, which I have some laces that I have chosen. It's not a very big area to work on. So whatever you do, it's not going to be as much as you normally can on a slow stitching project because this is pretty small area. So keep that in mind. But I have a couple different laces here that I'm going to be using. And I have button that I'm going to be using. I'm going to share a tip on that with you. And I also have a little yo-yo that I'm going to be using on this. And I'm going to be using a pearl bead, which they just happen to all be in this container. And rather than lose one bead, we'll leave that in there for now. So I'm just going to leave this lace. Here I'm going to use it first. But and try to remember kind of what placement I had in mind for that. And I also have this little bit of netting ribbon that I thought would be cute at the top to kind of attach and use it. So if you wanted to hang it up or do something like that with it, you could. That's just an idea. But for those of you that may have forgotten or don't know how to make the teeny tiny little yo-yos, use a Clover yo-yo maker, and this is the small size. And I already went and I found a green fabric in my stash that I thought would look okay with this. Made into a little yo-yo, which this is the one that I will actually be using on the project. But just to give you a quick review on how we make those, it will tell you on the instructions with your yo-yo the size square that you need for that. And I just pull stuff out of my scrap stash that is big enough for whichever one that I'm using, and you cut your square, and then you put the inside disc into the outside disc, lining it up with one of the little nubbins on there. And then you have to trim your fabric to about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch around the outside of that. Let's go all the way around. And it doesn't matter that that little bit of selvage is in there. That's not going to show. So that's, and then what I do is I take and I always kind of with my thumbs squish that down so it's easier to keep in place where it goes as I'm stitching it. And I use upholstery thread. You want a strong thread when you are doing this because you don't want it to break, because you are going to gather it all up with that. And you also want to make sure you have it long enough to go all the way around, because you can't knot it and start again, because then it will not gather. So we're going to have part with the little circle up, and we're going to have the part with all the ruffling down, but we're going to hold that with our finger. So it's behind there as we go along, and we're going to start in the first hole. If I can get my needle to go in there. There we go. Next, it'll be to the left of your little starting knot there. And I'm going to pull some more thread down there. I just about pulled that out. And you're just going to go in the little, there's little smiley face. Bring that up so you can see that little smiley face on there. And there's a hole there and a hole there. You're going to come up in that one, down in that one. Do not go across there or you'll sew it to your yo-yo maker. So then you're just going to come up in the next one and down in the other one all the way around. And of course, this small one doesn't take much time to do. It's going through all those smiley faces, keeping your finger on the back to make sure that you've always got that excess fabric down behind it. And these are fun to just fit and make a bunch up in your spare time. Then you have them if you do a lot of slow stitching, and we'll have some for embellishments, or they come in useful for a lot of different things. So you can make some, that are all a theme, same colorway, or if you have a project in mind, they're fun just to sit down while you're watching TV, football game, or just visiting, enjoying a cup of coffee with a friend, and stitch up some yo-yos. They come in different sizes. There's one that is smaller than this one. It's called the extra small. There's a small, there's a large, an extra large, and a jumbo. There's lots of patterns out there also that go with them that you can use, or you just come up with your own creative ideas. So now I'm all the way back to my little start there, and I mark mine with black. That's how I know and pay attention. So then you want to come up right where you started again. That locks it, and you need to be with your needle on the other side. So make sure you're not going through your thread that you just came up. And now you're going to pop that out of the back. And I set that down because I use that. You're going to carefully just loosen a little bit, pull your inside disc out of there and set that aside. And then what I do is I set it inside the little yo-yo maker. And if you have a pencil or something handy, just stick it right in that center. Get it started, kind of force all that fabric to be going inside. Oopsie. And that kind of helps keep it going on that first part. And then you got to pull that out, just gather it really, really tight. Pull on that. You want to make sure that it is tight. And then you're going to put a knot in the thread. It doesn't come undone. And then what I do, so the thread doesn't show, I go right inside, find it there. I go inside the fold, come out on the outside part so that my thread is buried. Just cut that out. And it doesn't look like much right now, but now just have to play with it, pull it out, straighten it all out. Just keep going round and round until you have those folds stretched out, centered towards the middle. Your middle isn't laying exactly as you want it, which right there, I'd like to have that under a little. Just take something and poke it in there. And then you can get those all even. Just keep going round and round until you have it looking the way that you want it. And there is your yo-yo that you can use for an embellishment on your slow stitching, which we might end up using both of them. Who knows? But we're going to set those aside. So that's just a little example. Again, I've got a video that goes into more detail on that you can look up. That is on my channel where I have taught that before. But just since I was using that, wanted to give you all another chance to see that done. Okay, so now we have our laces here, and I've kind of pre-cut these, had an idea in mind of what I wanted to do. Let me see. Thinking that's the top. We'll have to see. Might have gone the other direction. I'll know in a minute if they aren't fitting properly. Okay. That one goes there. There. Would go there. And is that the way I had it, or did I have it the other direction? We'll have to play with it and decide. Here I was this way. I'll flip these. I'll flip these under in a minute. I think that might be more the direction that I had it. Oops. Underneath underneath that pink. And because this gets folded, I want to bring these in just a little. We're going to leave them right on the right on the edge. And after I stitch them down, the edges that are overhanging would be trimmed off. Okay, so there we have our lace going all the way around our hexagon, which this will be folded, and it will give an edge on that as well. So I'm going to go ahead, just pin that on there. You know what I'm going to do? I think, as I've told you before, when you are doing slow stitch, to take a picture so you can remember. Okay, and I have my picture here to refer to, so I can see. Okay, we want to have this on top and the pink underneath. And that's how we were doing it. Just got to switch that one little detail out. Okay, and now we'll pin them down so that they are in place. And the reason that I'm pinning those, but I do not want it pinned to that background, because we're going to do all of our stitching first and then add that background. So make sure you move that out of your way. Okay, now we can pin that in place temporarily. I'm going to be stitching that down either with just a running stitch or a decorative embroidery stitch. Remember, it's slow stitching. There is no pattern, so you just kind of decide that as you go along. Get that down, and then we can decide on what else you might want to do with this. Okay, one more pin. Okay, and by doing that first, it also lets us know the area that we don't want to do embroidery underneath there, because it's not going to show. So that lets me know how much of that flower and everything there is that I actually want to do on the stitching. So I think I want that yo-yo to go down there. Yeah, we're gonna use that one because there's like 3 different greens in there, and this one has more dimension on it. So I'm gonna use that one, and I want this little flower to still be showing there. So we'll have that right there. Or let's see. in? Oh, there's stem going up there. There's also stem down there. But I think I may like it better up there. But that's how it goes. Now, here is a tip I wanted to show you. I want to show you what is actually the front of this button. And that is not the side that I'm using. When you have buttons and stuff, turn them over and see what the back looks like, because that is what I want to show, because I am going to use it as the middle on that flower for an embellishment. And that is the perfect color. It's got the little beiges that are kind of in the background of this fabric, and it's got the brown. So I'm going to sew that. I'm going to sew that right down there, and that's going to be the middle of that flower. I think. Yeah, and what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do that right away right now. I'm going to go ahead and sew my bead down. That will keep this yo-yo in place. I'll do some other stitching on it, but I go ahead and do that now. Open that up so I can get to my bead. Need to find my embroidery needle down here, which it should pass through the bead okay. There we go. This is a nifty little needle threader. It actually has a light on it if you have a problem seeing, but it's stronger than some. That's why I have a tendency to use it. But okay, so all I'm going to do is stick my needle in here, grab my bead. Oops, I have to come up first through the fabric. Try and get, there we go. Okay, and make sure I've got it where I want that. So I'm coming up from the back, right through the middle of the yo-yo. And pulling that, which the batting is on the back there. None of the stitching from the back is going to show. Gives it stability and a little extra oomph. But now, make sure we've got that where we want it again. Go down with the needle. And it'll pull that bead right into position, and of course catch on the pin that we have over there. And there, that ends up right in the middle of that yo-yo. And then I will flip it over and put a knot in the back here so that it does not come undone. Turn that off. Okay, that was quick and easy to have on there. Button fell off underneath there. So now, and of course I don't want to use green thread. I could, but I'm not going to. Don't want to use green thread to sew that button down. We're going to use brown. And the reason I'm sewing these on first before doing any other embroidery is because it's going to determine where some of the embroidery goes. So that might be enough thread to sew that button on. So don't waste it. Don't lose your needle. I have a habit of sticking it in my fabric down here, and I should be sticking it in my pin cushion instead. Easy to end up losing it when you just stick it down in what you're working on. Not always a good idea. Okay. More of a knot to that end. It's got a little knot, but make sure that doesn't pull through. Okay. So I'm gonna hold that button in place. Hope I can find the hole from the back. Always tricky to maneuver and find. Come on. Which I've shown before when you can't seem to find your a hole, go ahead and stick a pin through it. And then you can look at the back, find where your pin is, and it'll go right up the hole then. Place. Oops, and of course it did come through. I'm not going to pull that as tight. And the hole on that button isn't through there. Get it out with the needle. Make sure I have my thread there. Just going to get that button sewn down. We're not going to be wearing it or using the button, so that should be good. On the back. So how many of you do? Let me know in the comments. How many of you do slow stitching? Or if you haven't tried it yet, is it something that you've been wanting to try and start in doing? So we're gonna put the needle in the pin cushion. I'm gonna close this up before I end up filling beads all over the place. Set that over to the side. And now we need to decide what we're going to be doing for our embroidery, or we can go ahead and actually trim and start. I know where this is going to go. I'm going to trim off the excess edges on my lace. I'm going to do that by turning it over this way. You can see that I don't have this one quite in far enough on the fabric. Kind of hanging over the edge there, so I'm going to bring that in better before I trim it. Just this little also. Make sure it's all the way up there. And that one's okay. That's okay. So okay. Okay, so now I'm going to flip it over. Trim those off. Even with my hexagon. I've heard something outside. If you hear him barking, I'm sorry. And this is going to be covered by that binding, so you don't have to worry that it's completely, totally exact. Just getting it so it's not in the way when we do turn that over. Okay. We can just throw that excess away. Okay. Now, the easiest is going to be, because all this lace is just there kind of flopping around in our way. I'm going to stitch that down first. I'm going to show you how I would do that, which I've got my ecru colored Valdani floss over here in this little container because I use it all the time. Just kind of sits there ready to go. And that is actually going to end up covered up by that binding, so there's no need to do a fancy decorative stitch on this. To get it tacked down, I'm just going to do a running stitch around that outer part where it's going to be covered by the binding, and then I don't have to worry about it showing. I'm just going to start in a corner over here. We won't do the entire thing just to save time, but I would just go through the holes on the lace and tack that down with a running stitch. So that's held in place while I do the rest of the stitching. And our pins can be removed then, and they won't be in our way, our thread catching on it as we're trying to do embroidery on. But you would do that all the way around. Keep it straight. Okay. Turn this corner, go a little ways on it. But yeah, slow stitching is it's very fun to do, and adding it with the hexagons makes it a little bit more fun and exciting, and something different to do. Which we'll see that I need to do a little bit more trimming. And this, once this is all attached around here, I think that's, oopsie, pull that corner in. That will be helping making the finished edge of your hexagon. So many things you can do with these hexagons also. I mean, I can't Can't even begin to tell you all the ideas that run through my head every time I'm working on them, on ways that I can use them differently in projects. I mean, this can be a standalone slow stitch project, and you could actually, on a bigger project, use this hexagon on your other slow stitch project. That is something to keep in mind also on a way to use them. You know what a fusion quilt is, you could also use them in a fusion quilt, which I'm not going to say much more about that because I am planning one for the coming year, and we'll be sharing that with you at a later date in the upcoming year, and the plans that I have in store. So that will be exciting and something fun to do with those of you that like a stitch along. Just a little sneak peek of something you can look forward to for 2026. Hey, we're almost all the way around. I wasn't intending to go all the way around, but I want to do any other work on that. I will need to get all the way around. I think I'm going to have just enough roll cotton to do that, which I'm using a size 12. Well, Downy roll cotton is what all of these are that I chose to use. It's what I use more frequently than anything. It's just all in an individual preference. That's my preference. That's what I like to use. So, and we're at where we started. Bring that to the back. Quickly knot that off as well. I have a little piece of the lace on the back. Oops, that's where I sewed the button. I was trying to pull that fuzz off. Okay. I always try to stick my needle in the same place so I can remember which needle it is that I'm using. Now I can remove these pins. They will not be in the way. Okay. And of course, okay, I'm looking at this to decide what I'm going to do. And you know how I love French knots. So down in these three colors, I will be combining randomly, and I will be doing a bunch of French knots down there on those little teeny tiny flowers. I know it's hard to see, but they kind of have little dots going through that are making those flowers. So I'm not going to do the French knots right now. Instead, I am going to start outlining that flower, and I am going to do a stem stitch using the brown, the dark brown here. Sometimes you can look forever to find the end, but that popped right up for me. That's nice. There's been times that I can search and search and search and search and never think I'm going to find the start of the thread. And I won't cut it. I will keep looking until I do find it. Oopsie, we missed the needle threader. Well, I'm pulling it back through with my sleeve is pulling it back through. Here we go. Off my sleeve and that won't happen. Okay. So we're just going to start this. Give you an idea of what I'm doing. When you're doing yours, you just, according to what you have and what you like and what you like to stitch. I say there is no pattern, no rhyme or reason. So trying to decide, do I want to start up? I'm going to start there, and that way I can work around. Okay. I'm just going on the brown, and I'm going to do a stem stitch, following the outline of the petals on here. I think I can probably zoom in another one at least. Do that. Oops, going down the wrong petal there almost. Go on this one so I can keep going. And for those of you that don't know the embroidery stitches and are wanting to learn, if you have not watched my channel before, I do have a 10-part series that I taught. Oh, I believe it was the whole little handy pocket handbook of embroidery stitches. Taught a few each week. Seems to me that there was close to 30 of them. I don't remember exactly, but you can go back and find that video series and learn the embroidery stitches along with that. And it also entailed making a slow stitching journal at the same time. So it has embroidery and the slow stitching in it. And now I am down to where I'm going to have to turn. And when you are doing a stem stitch so that it stays in place, you just go on the back, put your needle under that last stitch that you worked, and now it won't pull up, and you can continue around the corner and it will lay nice and flat like it is supposed to. That is what I will be doing on that flower. Now that I look at this, I'm going to just park my needle up there because now we'll look and see what other ideas, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I notice on this lace, there's the little holes right there. And since I have the pearls, I will probably take, if I have enough of the large ones, and it looks like I might. I use that size. I can stitch. Just trying to grab them. I can stitch a pearl down in each one of those little holes on that lace, and that will add something to that. Yeah, you can see those up there. I was looking on the wrong side, but I'm not going to keep those there right now, and I'm not going to stitch them down right now, but yeah, those will go around there very nicely and add some detail. to that, which I do have a few of the bigger. If I decided that in the middle one there, if it comes out even, I could do a bigger one. May not, I'm trying to see, may not be quite enough. There's a lot in here. If I put a bigger one in the middle, that looks even better. And then I would do the same thing. Same thing over there. I think that will be a very, very cute idea. Put those back in there for now so I don't lose them all over the place. It's already stitched on. Put the lid back on there. So that's an idea for that. And then, of course, I will also be doing the outline on this flower. And since I don't have a button on it, I think I will probably put with the dark brown that I do the other, and I will pull one other brown. I will do French knots inside that flower. And of course, I'll be doing this stem and the stems down here with oh, probably the darker, either this green or this one. And I will do the stems there in a stem stitch. And I will do something more on this lace. Haven't decided yet, but something that makes a nice edge showing if we're doing the pearls on that one. Then I'll add some decorative stitching along the scallop part of this lace. Just haven't decided what yet. And then I will probably do some what is called as seed stitching in the background, so that has texture added to it and everything. But so that, and then of course, once that is all stitched, I'm going to pull this over to give you an idea. Of course, we got to move that needle. It's going to be parked in the way of. We're going to make sure that you have this centered in the top at the top. Make sure you pay attention to that. I take my ruler because I know that these edges should be 1 inch from the edge if I have that centered. So I just go around with my ruler and make sure that they are all coming out to that before I start. And it's just a slight adjustment that some of them may need to take. Okay. So then what you do is you fold this over once right up to the edge of your batting, and I just kind of finger press that. And then you're going to fold it again so it is flush with the outer edge of that hexagon. And just take a clip and clip it on there to hold it in place. And you go to the next one. Make sure that you have that, because that's going to make your miter. Pull that even with it. Of course, if there's anything hanging over there, I would be trimming that. Miter there, correct. And go ahead, clip on that, clip on your miter. I'm just going to go all the way around. Now, when I have these two down, as was suggested in the block of the month, just so that it doesn't slide before you do these others, go down to this edge and turn this one, and that will keep your hexagon from sliding down while you're going over the edges there. one. Open that close to the edge. Up, got in from the previous one. Put it back there. Comfortably left off here. And just continue going around like that until you have it all clipped. Making sure that my miters are lined up. Make sure that your fabric is staying smooth also, which the stitching isn't done. So one here, that, the finger press. Over. Let's see how approximately how it's going to look when it's done. There's our top. Move the thread out of the way. And so when it's all done, you'll have a little hexie finished, much like I left it out and set it someplace, but I can't find where I set it right now. It's underneath this one. There you go. So there is the other one that is slow stitched. And so there you have slow stitching meets hexie. And like I said, you can do many, many, many different things with that. That was just a quick little tip demo for you. I hope that you have enjoyed that and you give it a try yourself. You can, of course, make your own template if you don't have one, but if you're going to make several, I would suggest that you get the acrylic template, or do whatever size it is that you want. You can do smaller little ones. You can do bigger ones, whatever size it is that you have and that you can make a template for. But just enjoy the process. Just, it's called slow stitching. It's also referred to as meditative stitching. It's good therapy, and it's very, very addictive, which I would say, if I would gather to bet you can't make just one. Once you make one, you'll want to make more and keep going with it. And it's a great way to use up your scrap fabrics. So there you have our tip demo Wednesday. Slow stitching meets hexie. Leave some comments after this is over so I can get back and if any questions that you have and answer them for you. This will be a premiere, so there will be a live chat. Of course, it is pre-recorded. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And remember, as always, in the meantime, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone.